folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Welcome to the show.
And welcome to all of you. Thank you, Robert, as always. And we greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And as always, we continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from our Creator. And so thank you all for showing up again on a Tuesday. And thank you, Robert, for having me back for, this is show number 155.
Yes,
and you
yes,
believe
it is. 155. Can you believe that? We're on our way. Like Lucky says, happy Tribal Tuesday, everyone. There you go.
Absolutely.
Chris, good to see you. Yeah. Let's see. Hello. Anyway, people will be piling in a little bit. And tonight we're going to be starting our series on Plains Indians. Boy, do I got some good books on the Plains Indians. And I've been studying up. And I got some pictures. And I got all kinds of whodunit stuff. So we're going to be looking at we got pictures. Of course, we got pictures. And it's going to be a good show. But anyway, and it's on our whirling up to Christmas time. You know what I mean? So we're trying to enjoy that too. Now until this is what I can't figure out is the natives wouldn't have had Christmas, but would they have had a fall harvest party or something to do with the solstice? The winter.
Because it's the longest night and the shortest day.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
And it would have been in a lot of ways New Year's to them, because on the 23rd when the solstice is, that's the beginning of spring, basically, because that's the end of the longest night and the beginning of the longer days. So if they knew about it, I'm sure they would have celebrated.
Yeah,
especially around the full moon of December.
Yes, definitely those times. And I'm thinking, because that makes sense, because the pagans, they would celebrate. I kind of relate the pagans were closer to what the Native Americans believed, and yet, Christianity came along, and it changed literally everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like wiped over all those other beliefs, and the ones that they couldn't wipe out, they smoothed over and brought them in, like the Christmas tree. How does a Christmas tree end up to be celebration thing for Christmas? It's pagan, and people don't realize it. Just like the manger that you see all over the place are not made of wood. It was in a cave. They didn't have wood.
And at best, it would have been a pile of hay.
Yes, and a pile of hay. Exactly. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, but people don't question that because the church has smoothed it out and made it real by telling you plenty of times to do what they say to do, right? And so, and you couldn't get rid of everything, so you kept some things so people would kind of believe, hey, you pagans can keep your Christmas tree, but now you just have to set the presents for Jesus underneath the Christmas tree. See what I mean? Yeah. And Christmas says, Christmas is also known as Saturnalia, pagan holiday. See, they even picked the pagan holiday. What better? Just keep the same pagan days, but just rename it something new. So, yeah.
Well, in all the old books, you know, they even the Catholic Church admits that back in the day they wanted to bring the pagans into religion, and the only way they could do it was to take some of these pagan traditions, if you will, and bring them into the church. Like, for example, setting up an altar. You know, oh, there's the altar of the church, you know, and it's like, would you, you know, in any other Christian church, maybe, or some, I thought it wouldn't be an altar, it would be a table, it would be a something, but altar suggests sacrifices and stuff. And so, in order to get the pagans to come in, they had to drag in some of the pagan beliefs and incorporate it into the Christian, what became the Catholic Church.
Now, JoJo's saying that the Christians said pagans were bad. Yeah, it's propaganda, gaslighting. Hey, we'll take in your beliefs, and then if you become one of us, now you look at your neighbor who's a pagan, you can tell him pagans are bad, and he'll come to our side, and they'll win him over. Now, why are we talking about all of this like that? Is because they did the same with the Native Americans, and they did the same. They tried to convert them right away. They sent out the Jesuits to convert the Indians and so forth and so on. And, you know, until we got what we got today, you know, most of the Indians, as you were saying, they still kind of believe in their beliefs, but they also incorporated Christianity into it. And eventually, I imagine that their beliefs will kind of almost disappear, and that the Christianity will probably win over. What do you think?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think that Christianity will take over, because the way the folks that I've talked to and in the Native community, like I've said before, every powwow that I've been to, that they say a Christian prayer, and then after the Christian prayer, at the same powwow, they say their Indian prayer. So, and from their eyes, it's like God in the Bible is one of the helpers of the Great Spirit.
Yeah.
So the Great Spirit, God is a member just like we are, because we're made in the image and likeness of God, and then God is a part of the universe along with the Great Spirit. Yeah, Christ is not a Christian. Let that sink in.
Hey, you know what?
He was actually a Buddhist and studied the Eastern or Far Eastern traditions. And I learned that from Sister Helene in 1970 from Tampa Catholic. You know, that Jesus was basically a Buddhist and had studied the Eastern traditions and was coming back to tell the Jews, listen, you don't have to sacrifice things. What did he do when he went into the temple? He threw out the money changers, you know, and he said, this isn't right, you know. And so he had a different message, and they didn't want to hear it.
That is true. That is absolutely true. There's a lot more to the story, if it was even true, that, you know, then we can imagine, because we're supposed to just have faith and believe that the story is true. Put it that way. And that a lot of it doesn't make any sense, but you're supposed to believe it anyway.
That's right.
You know, just like you said about the, you know, he's doing all these things, you know, none of it. How did it? Oh, I ain't even going to get into it. But anyway,
for example, as a child growing up in the Catholic religion and going to the parochial school, you know, the Catholic school, I would ask the questions and they would go, you know, shut up, David. You know, you just have to have faith. And I'm like, this stuff doesn't make sense. And, you know, the nuns back then with their wooden rulers, you know, put out your hands, smack. But, you know, this doesn't make sense. And, you know, it still don't sometimes. But anyway, so let's get on with it.
Okay. Well, tonight, well, like I said, you know, it's just kind of one of those questions And we're going to get into that much more, everyone. We're going to be talking dark, deep secrets about Christmas, Christianity. You want to go there? You thought the Christian whistleblower was crazy, and well, you didn't get a load of me yet. Put it that way. Check me out on Saturday night. Right? Anyway, with that, we are gonna talk about how did people get to the Americas in the first place? That is one of the big questions, right? You know, how did they get to the Plains Indians, to be the Plains Indians anyway, right? And we're gonna be talking about. Let's see, we have all kinds of theories, or at least the scientists do anyway. And they tell us, and we're supposed to believe. And I don't think all that they're telling us is all that we should be believing. You know, they're telling us during the Ice Age that they came over the Bering Strait land bridge and all the way along the coast and down into the Americas and down into South America and so forth and so on, right? Is this not true? You've heard it probably a dozen times or more.
But, and also they have found out that alpine glaciation up there along, between was actually not ice. They say it was actually, covered with green and all kinds of stuff. And that, this idea that it was nothing but ice is, in a lot of ways, they say is a fairy tale. So,
yeah, I challenge that idea because, here's the thing, is was there only one ice age? That's my question. Was there only one ice age? And
apparently we're supposed to be in one now because, a long time ago, it showed that the Antarctica was, was green and lush. And then further north was more green and lush. So this idea that by some reason we are some, where, how many feet of ice is in the Antarctic in places? 7 miles or something. So, but the idea though that there was a pole shift way back in the day, and that started this ice age. But anyway, go ahead, Robert.
Okay. Well, they give us these routes. So they think that these Clovis people came over on the Bering, the Bering Bridge, and then they came down into South America. And then they got this one here. This migration happened from Australia and New Zealand, and they sailed across the Pacific Ocean and over down into South America. And then, of course, you got the other group of people, the Paleo Indians, who came up, and of course they came up the northern route and along the Greenland and Iceland area and down into America to the East Coast. Now, so you got all these ways of these people getting over to the Americas by just walking, literally walking. And I say, you know what I say to that? I call bullshit on that. You know what I mean? Just because they haven't discovered stuff doesn't mean it didn't happen by a different route. Chris Smith, he's got it right. There have been multiple ice ages during the past 75,000 years. So how come they didn't come over on like the first or second ice age? They came over on the last ice age. What, did all the people die off and then they had to come again? Was the ice age that bad? Right?
Also, there's a lot of evidence that the sea ocean, the water in the oceans was a lot lower than it is today. And
exactly.
And so that the idea that there was nothing there along the land bridge but ice is also suspect, in that, with the water, 2 or 3 or 4 foot lower, or 5 feet, 10 feet lower in some instances, People forget, they think that Lemuria was just, it's just a legend. Well, but if Lemuria was out in the middle of the Pacific, that's where the Native Americans came from. They had to go east to get away from everything, and that's how they ended up on Turtle Island. So this idea that somehow the Clovis people, came across the land bridge and all that, to this day, that's the best guess. And every day that goes by, there's more proof that that's just one hypothesis.
Oh, exactly. So here's a good one for you. We're going to start out with these crazy people. And if you want to know the thing here, we have the Denisovian people, we have the Neanderthals, and then the modern humans, right? And they show this in these pictures as the development, and we went from Denisovian to Neanderthal, and now we are human. And all because they found a couple of skulls somewhere along the line and said, look, that was a Denisovian. Well, how do you know it just wasn't another kind of human? And then where did humans come from? And this is what they look like. They were big and ugly and had huge noses, and see, we're nothing like them. We're better looking people. I'm thinking, yeah, that looks like the guy down the road there. He's uglier than shit.
Yeah, that's right. I had a third cousin that looked like that,
Yeah, well, there you go. Denisovians are still alive today. I'm just saying I think science is trying to sculpt this all out into their favor. They paint us these pictures like this one, and they say, see, look, this is a Neanderthal. This is what a Neanderthal man would look like. Oh, he would be, he's got a big nose and blah, he's got eyes. He looks like us. See, we could have developed into that. I don't know. I really don't think so. I think there's more to it. And then of course they show us maps. I'd like to get everybody's opinion on some of these things. Here, Clovis people are Native Americans, see, and from Asia. They're not from Europe. So apparently the Asians and the Europeans have totally different DNA, right? How is that? You see how confusing this gets? It's almost, it is confusing. So,
well, maybe let me add something here.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, or maybe it was late 60s, but Thor Heyerdahl, a German or Austrian man, they went down to South America and built this great big raft out of balsa wood and sailed it, to the West Indies. And, and so the idea that somehow they migrated from Australia to South America, there is a crap load of evidence that it came from South America to Australia and to the islands. And Thor Heyerdahl and Kon-Tiki, and if you've never seen or read the book, you should. It's very interesting. And but these gentlemen set off on a raft without any real, what's going to happen. We just got an idea here. And a few months later, they end up in the, in the islands. But so there are and have been conventional folks who have argued the archaeological data. Oh, they came from here. It's got to be obvious.
Well,
maybe not.
Well, I say that they may have come over. My thoughts is kind of like Chris Smith is saying. There are many artifacts discovered over the past 50 years suggest that people were here in the Americas going back over 100,000 years. That means they could have came over, 3-4 ice ages ago. If an ice age lasted 10,000 years and they've been here 10,000 years after the ice age, well, who's to say that they didn't come over after the first or second ice age? You know what I'm saying?
But hang on. Here's the key to this discussion. everyone must believe that because the Americas are separated by a great big ocean, that what if the people in the Americas were already here?
Well, but that's what I'm saying
You know, and what did the Hopi and the folks, the Native Americans, they came from the stars. They came from Sirius. So all these Europeans and everybody, well, they must have come from us. They must have come from somewhere. No, but the native folks say, sorry, guys, we came from the stars.
You know what they base this all on? After I did all this reading on all of this stuff, they base it all on the arrowheads. Because they didn't leave a whole lot behind. They based it all on these arrowheads, which they call the Clovis points. Oh yeah, look, it's a certain kind of design that they had, and they said, okay, these people were developing, and then they were all using. Well, here's the thing: if they were all using the same arrowhead all over the country, maybe they were one big giant community, bigger than we can ever imagine, because obviously the guy that was in the northern part wasn't, he was not this guy, the guy that was up here. How did he talk to the guy down here and say, here, this is how you make this spearhead, you got to make it like this because we're Clovis people? You know what I'm saying? How did the communication from the north all the way down to the south end up to be the same, even though there's Clovis people down here, there's Clovis people up here? What that's I suppose how they figured that they traveled so far
without a horse.
Yeah, and without a horse. And of course, and then what were they doing? They were hunting. They were hunting these giant mastodons. And I'm thinking, I call bullshit on that. They were probably hunting some mastodons and some, things like that. But I think in the bigger picture, they were probably, hunting more or less other things like, which is proven. They were probably hunting, more elk because they're easier. Deer, you can get up closer. They ain't gonna kill you. When did deer kill you? You know what I'm saying?
Unless you tick them off.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying is that
they're not they're not aggressive.
You're not gonna get killed by a deer. And also, what do most people eat? You don't have a refrigerator. You're gonna go out and kill some fresh food. You're gonna eat rabbits. And they've been finding rabbit bones and deer bones and elk bones in some of these places where they do excavating for this kind of stuff. But that's what I mean. That they were eating rabbits and prairie dogs. That's what the Native American on the plains ate. So why wouldn't these people coming across eat them too, right? This is easier to catch than one of these things. This is a hard animal to catch and eat. Look you're going to have all these people, and you're going to luckily try to not get killed. Is it worth dying over for food? No. You
would not catch it.
No, you wouldn't.
You're going to kill it or you're going to get trampled, but you're not going to catch it, like put it in a cage. You ain't gonna catch it.
Plus, at the time, there was tons of these things running around. Lots of bison. They were everywhere, and these were hard to catch. You just didn't go there and walk up to one and stab it with an arrow or something and say, "Well, look, I put my Clovis point in it; it's dead." And I mean, think about it. You have a little rock spear like this. Are you going to be, trying to kill a mastodon? You're going to, I would say that's dangerous. You're going to be throwing your atlatl and your spears and stuff and hope this thing doesn't run away or kill you in the process. I don't think that's one of the biggest and best things to do. I mean, just think of it this way. People who live in Africa, right? All those tribes that live in Africa, what do they hunt? What were they hunting? Buffalo? Were they hunting elephants? You know, they would have made the elephant extinct if that was the case. They weren't all running down elephants. They were hunting gazelles and, you know, buffaloes, and they were hunting, you know, little animals, birds and things like that. So it makes me think that the people back in the day didn't go after the biggest, baddest beast in the forest. Just wouldn't make much sense now, would it?
Yeah, that would be like if, you know, and there's a lot of proof with folks don't want to believe it, but that, you know, human beings were around during the dinosaurs, or the dinosaurs were around with the human beings. And so it's like, so would you, oh, look, there's a T-Rex. Let's go kill it and have dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go kill a T-Rex because he's got little arms, you know. But anyway, so
yeah,
the idea.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
The meanest, baddest, whatever it was, to, you know, kill and clean. But anyway, go ahead, Robert.
Carol says, yeah, David Hatcher Childress archaeology book. It's good. Yeah, I'll have to check his book out. I've listened to his shows and listened to what he has to say. He's really smart about stuff. He's a guy from you know, the History Channel. Yep. I spent 2 years in Ghana, West Africa, and they still eat everything that moves in the jungle. Oh yeah, and I agree. You know, there's nothing you can, you know, if you came across an elephant or a buffalo or whatever it is, you may try to kill it, but you better have a couple people. You know, you ain't gonna go after a mastodon with one guy. Just probably not a smart thing. You know what I mean? They found Christmas says they found a mastodon kill site in San Diego with tool marks on the bones dating back. Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing that they killed mastodons, and they probably butchered them, and you know, maybe they ran them off a cliff or something. You know, like they did the buffalo. You know, the Indians before the horse didn't run after buffalo and kill them. They chased them off a cliff, or they put them in a big giant corral and then they stabbed them. You know, stuff like that. Maybe they killed one that was off to the side and they surprise attacked it, because you know as well as I do, I've seen buffalo take a whole round bale and just throw it over their head when they hit it, and it'll toss in the air like it's a bouncing ball. I mean, it takes a big tractor to pick one of those things up.
I think our point is that killing a mastodon would not be the first choice. Not that they didn't kill them and eat them, but that they just wouldn't be the first choice.
Yeah.
And I would believe that. You know, I'm looking around going, holy crap, there goes an elephant. Let's go kill it. Nah,
well, but that's the thing too, is if you don't have a refrigerator or a freezer, you know, a giant elephant like that to, you know, cut it up and try to smoke and preserve that meat would be a really, you know, be a long process, a huge animal. Lots to you know, cut up there, and then you would feed a lot of people with that. You know, if you had 5 people in your tribe, you wouldn't want to tackle an elephant. One of them, you might get killed, and then what are you going to do with all the meat? You know, here Carol says in Kenya they are protected, so all the animals walk the roads in Kenya. Is 3,000 miles away from Ghana, and yeah, they're protected today. I'm saying when the natives ruled the land, did they make the elephant extinct by hunting them so much? That's the point. Nowadays they got guns. They just go out there and, you know, shoot them with the elephant gun and say, "Look at my trophy. Look at," you know. Well,
and also
that's not fair to the animal.
The 1800s sort of ish that ivory became, you know, it's sort of like the beaver, you know, beaver almost became extinct because of the beaver pelts. You know,
so did the buffalo. So did the buffalo.
And so, but you know, so back in those days, you know, it was the same thing.
Well, and then
killing the elephants for their ivory, not for their meat or for anything else. They were killing them just for their tusks.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why these animals, would go extinct, or whatever. But when you're hunting with this, this device, an arrow, or a spear, it's going to take a lot of time to, kill your prey. And it's not going to be the fast way, like when they were killing all the buffalo off. They went out there and shot, one guy could shoot 200 buffalo a day, maybe more. And you can deplete a herd that way. Whereas when you got a spear, it's going to take you a while to kill quite a few buffalo that way, especially when you got to walk up to it or shoot it with an arrow. And you didn't have a compound bow. So, anyway, so we're going to go on. So, where am I here? Okay, so we got the Native Americans, and we're going to be talking about the Plains Indians. Now that we talked about how they got here, they came over as maybe Clovis people, or as they call them. They settled in the plains, and of course we have the California Northwest. You got the people on the coast. We talked much about the Southeast and the Northeast, the Iroquois, all the way down into Seminoles down here. We're talking about the Plains Indians right now. And there are a lot of those Plains Indian tribes. Now, did they always live in the plains? Not necessarily. The Plains Indians really weren't in the plains until the horse was brought along. Because between here and here, there's nothing but a sea of grass, very few trees, and buffalo. Think about millions and millions of buffalo roaming this area, and you don't have a horse to go hunt one. You don't have a tree to stand under. You can't drag your stuff along very good because you don't have a horse. And these people, they were making the best of it. They were building houses out of dirt like this, kind of a underground house type deal, wooden structure inside with dirt piled over it, hole in the center on the top here. And, quite the thing, you don't have to worry about a tornado blowing you away. You got a nice roof, ain't going to leak kind of deal. And
and you can survive a nuclear attack,
Yeah, pretty much. But you're making the best of your environment. But once the natives got the horse and they could, move around, they went from that shelter. They started hunting the buffalo here, and they moved on to the traveling nomad crowd with the teepee. They still got their trusty dogs. They got their teepees. They're out there hunting the buffalo, and the buffalo provided them with meat. It provided them with tools. They used the bones for tools. They used the hide for clothes. There were so many uses. The horns, they would sculpt them into utensils and toys, and
they used the hooves. They learned how to turn it into glue.
Yeah, well, they made every bit of the buffalo was used for something. And one of the most important things of the buffalo was for the native, and you probably won't even think about it, but take a guess. What was one of the most life-sustaining important things?
Probably after it scared the buffalo robe.
Nope. It was the fat. They didn't have the fat. The buffalo, the lard, basically, the oils. Without the oil, the buffalo also provided you remember how you probably watched some of those westerns where they killed a buffalo and they were all trying to eat the liver. Remember, they didn't have fruit trees to just go pick a apple or an orange off of a fruit tree out in the middle of the plains. they would eat the buffalo liver, and that provided them with vitamin C. Because remember, the human body does not make vitamin C, and without vitamin C, you cease to exist. Bet you didn't know that one, did you?
Yep. You get scurvy and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so they knew these things, you know. Hey, you know, we hunt the buffalo, we get them, you know, eat the liver. It's important. You know, we need the fats, because without the fats, they made things called stuff called pemmican. They would put fruits and berries and vegetable stuff, whatever, and they would cook this down. And the pemmican was basically the lard. So it was basically a lard bar with fruits and nuts and things that would be preserved inside that lard, and that would last for a long, long time and give them energy and nourishment in the winter when they didn't have food to eat.
It was the ancients' way of a protein bar.
Yeah, exactly. And you could carry a little bit of it, which would go a long way. You
and
know,
there are YouTube videos out there on how to make pemmican, by the way.
Yes, exactly. But once the horse got here, as you can see with the pictures, now this is Native American drawings, and they would have drawn this on a buffalo hide or maybe on their teepee. And you know, you can see that they are out hunting the buffalo, and with the horse they could travel, they could hunt the buffalo you know, at safely, I would say safely enough, because you could, you know, you still had to go and shoot it with an arrow, you had to stab it with your spear, whereas if you were on foot and that buffalo ran, you're up shit creek. Right?
Yeah, and the biggest things that you could get, you know, you could get horned by a buffalo if you're right up close to them and everything. But the biggest thing would be to get knocked off your horse and get trampled.
Oh yes, definitely.
That you know, but you and you know, they didn't have, they just rode bareback, so they didn't have a horn, you know, saddle horn to hold on to or nothing. And so it's like you know, they were clenching on with their legs. But if a buffalo bumped their horse, or the horse stepped in a gopher hole and stumbled a little bit, and you fell off your horse, you stood a good chance of getting trampled. And that was the biggest thing that, you know, would hurt you during hunting.
Yeah. Susie Q says maybe they use pine needle tea. There's lots of vitamin C in that. Well, you got to remember, they're on the plains. There's no trees. Pine needles would be very scarce. You know, you'd be lucky to find most, like I live in North Dakota, and not many pine trees out here. You got a lot of cottonwood, some elm. Not sure about a lot of other stuff, but you know, they had buffalo and grass, and that was it. Maybe a few little wild onions or something that grew, or maybe some berries on some brush and stuff like that. Kyle says bison. Yes, it is bison. Yeah, anyway, the idea is that you made the best of what you had, and since you're a traveling nomad, you know, you pick up all your stuff and you have to move it and follow the herds of buffalo. You know, you're following the herd.
Yeah, let me add something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Down here in the southeast, I can only speak for down here. But you know, we have a plant called sheep sorrel, or actually there's just sorrel and then there's sheep sorrel, which is like one of the different genus. But anyway, in the springtime, and you can tell it's got, you know, it's purple on the top, and fields, it just grows wild. And about every February or March, this starts coming up on its own. And farmers can plow the fields and everything. But the thing is that every spring, these plants come up, and they're high in vitamin C. Now, as the creator stories go, as I've read and we've talked about, that the creator said that there will be a plant or mineral that will cure anything or take care of anything. So we might, pine bark and that, but it might be this little plant that grows close to the ground. And that
Yep.
tiny little plant, along with all of its cousins, is what can give you vitamin C. But, those are the types of things that should have or could have been passed down through the many, generations. But anyway, so there were things they could get vitamin C from,
Yes.
but not the normal things that, you would think of. Anyway, go ahead, Robert.
Well, you're right, but those things like you're talking about would only grow in the summertime because you're picking it wild. That was one of the things that, that the natives didn't do. They didn't, farm, especially on the Plains Indians. They grew a little bit of stuff, but not much because they moved all the time. And when so you're picking the wilds, but in the winter, when you can't pick stuff, you better have some of that pemmican that you made. And you better, when you hunt a buffalo, well, you have the liver, and that has vitamin C in the winter. Maybe you'll make it through. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just you taking what you got, like you said, that little plant. Well, in the summertime, it's all over the place. But once winter hits, no more plant. It's like me. I was thinking yesterday, oh man, if I could just make some dandelion tea, that would really help me out. Man, oh man. Well, guess what? I don't have any dandelions because they're all frozen under the ground now, under the snowbank. No dandelions. I can make it in the summertime, but no dandelions in the wintertime. So
yeah, one of the things too that, and because I live the way I do down here in the South, I've been very aware of the different seasons of things. And yeah, it's wintertime, but even in wintertime down here, there are certain plants that come out on their own out here in the field, and to me, they're broadleaf. And some of them they're green, obviously, but some of them are like collard greens or turnip greens or something like that. And it's like every late in December into early January, these broadleaves come out on their own all over the field. There isn't any grass. I mean, the grass isn't growing, but there are a bunch of these broadleaves all over the place. So, Creator and Mother Earth, if you know the season, now I know you live up there with all that snow, but that's why a lot of them migrated south during the wintertime, because there were things that they could get where they couldn't get them in the snow. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. Susie Q says, I don't think you realize they dried things in those teepees. And yes, I do believe they dried things. But then, you can dry things and you can pack it away. But since you're a nomadic kind of person, where are you putting all this? It ain't like you got a storage teepee out back with some shelving in it or some glass jars. And, I know my pantry down in my basement is huge full of stuff. Man, I got enough stuff to last me a year or two. But that takes up a lot of room. And if I had to drag it somewhere, I am not making it. I could have a little bit and it might last, if I had to put it all in one bag, I might have enough for a couple weeks, maybe that's it, So I don't know. Either that or you have to starve, one or the other.
But right? To the point though, inside a teepee, way up in the top, they would string a string all the way around and overhead, and they hunt a lot of herbs and things and stuff, and and then way up high they would hang things that they'd have to get on the shoulders of somebody to put them up there. But then lower down they had things where they'd hang their clothes and stuff. So but yeah, so that was that was their closet was over their head, but that was also that's also where they dried things and kept their herbs. But to your point, they couldn't carry much and they didn't have much, even because the space was small.
Yes. And here's another thing. And this is why people on the plains, there wasn't many people on the plains. There was a couple of tribes or a few nomadic tribes that were on the plains, but not many, because before the horse, they didn't have a horse. What did they have? They had dogs. And the dogs, let's see, I got a picture of a dog here. I don't have one, but they would hook them up to them travois. And you know what a travois is, right? So,
Yep.
so the thing is they would have these, they would have these dogs, and the dogs would pull, as you can see in this picture, they have a couple of dogs, but say a dog this size could pull, they said, about 30 pounds. So their teepees before the horse came along were small. And as you can see, this one looks like a small teepee. I mean, it's probably what? These people are sitting on the ground, so maybe it's 8 foot tall. You couldn't haul a big giant teepee with you. Your teepee is going to be really small. We're talking before the horse. And you're going to have smaller teepees. You're going to have smaller tribes. You can't hunt for buffalo. You got to hunt for other things. You be shooting, grouse like that. We're out on the plains, like this. If you've seen one of these, that's what you'd be hunting, because those would be numerous in the winter time, and or you'd be hunting our little furry friends, the prairie dog, because the other animals would be all herded up or they went south. You know what I'm saying? Like the elk. The elk, they migrate. They don't stay up. They migrate. Is that not true?
Yep.
They go south for the winter. So that's what I'm saying is that you got to think of, we're talking before the horse. But once the horse got here, things changed. That's what I'm getting back to. Things changed dramatically. Yes, and as you can see from this picture, look at all the different tribes along the coast here. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds and hundreds of different tribes. On the East Coast, lots and lots of different tribes. They don't even have them all listed here. But once you get to the middle, to the plains, this is a huge area, and there's like nobody here. There's not many people here. Most of these people, like the Sioux and stuff, they came over from out east, and they lived in Wisconsin and Michigan, and they went west because they were getting, all these tribes along the west were getting conquered. Remember, we talked about them for weeks, and they all started moving west, and so did the other tribes. They all moved west. But once the horse came along, these tribes that were in the west became really powerful, like the Sioux. Once they got the horse, they became a powerful tribe. The Comanche became a huge, powerful tribe. They had basically this whole area of Texas, and Oklahoma and Kansas was theirs. I mean, they were a fierce tribe. They were the horsemen of the plains. You know what I'm saying here? You got and up north, where in North Dakota, you have the Hidatsa, the Mandan, the Arikara, the Sioux, the Blackfeet, the Crow, the Cheyenne, same tribes, northern tribes, eastern tribes, western tribes. But it's a different world. Once you got the horse, these tribes moved into the plains. They could hunt buffalo and live. But here's one thing that happened. And next week, we're going to be talking more on the Pacific tribes of the plains. But today, we're going to be talking about what happened to these people. So the white man came along, and unbeknownst to the natives, they brought diseases, smallpox, measles, mumps, all that crazy stuff. And the natives were dying off left and right. And they had no idea why, because they didn't understand germs or diseases. Their tribes were decimated from thousands to hundreds. And it would take those tribes years and years to rebuild. The natives would do, basically they had no idea what to do. They would bloodlet. They would try to cure them with herbs that they had. But because these diseases came on so fast and they were so deadly, their shamans couldn't find the herbs. Like you were saying, I think you were just saying a little while ago about how there's a plant to cure every disease, correct?
Right.
But if a disease comes along so fast, you're not going to be able to find that herb.
But also, you have to have a basic immunity too.
Yes, yes.
They just simply weren't born with it.
Yes, they were not born with the immunity to these diseases. It really took a toll on the natives. I mean, like I said, they tried their working ways to cure people. You can see this guy, he's getting some smoke, maybe, and this guy up here, he's trying to give some plants. Here's some herbs, or whatever, and drink some water. This guy here, he's just laying there. I don't know what they're doing to him, but you can see that they're trying to cure these people. They're sick, but these people that are standing around them are all going to be contaminated because I don't think they know about washing their hands and staying sterile or things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so many of them got sick at the same time.
Yes. And that's what I mean. When smallpox came through, it came through so fast. Some of these people got so sick, they never even made it out of their teepee, or they never made it out of their hut or whatever they were living in. They got so sick, they just died. I mean, there was, go ahead.
I was going to say the equivalent of this, what happened to the Native American, would have been like in the medieval days with the Black Death.
Yes, exactly. And these poor people, didn't bring it upon themselves. It was brought to them. And, all their knowledge and wisdom was, and it was killed off with a lot of their older tribe members. I imagine
the diseases that the Native Americans knew, the plants and herbs and whatever, that knowledge was passed down. But because this was totally new, there were no ancestors to say, wait a minute, we used to use the, Creator gave us this plant. They had no knowledge of that.
Yeah. And therefore they just literally dropped over dead, and
they lost out.
Yeah. I mean, it had to be shocking. And like you said, they didn't have time to think of a cure or try anything. They had to, just suffer through it all. And the ones who survived, they survived. But the problem with the whole thing is, after doing all the research I did, the tribes could not produce enough population to when the whites came through, the Americans, the Europeans, or whoever was coming. They didn't have enough population at that point. So the land was pretty empty. The buffalo were in the millions and millions. And the land looked big and open because all the natives had died off, in more or less a fashion. You know what I'm saying? When Lewis and Clark went through, you almost could say that they probably carried some of it with them. Not intentionally, but as they went from tribe to tribe, they were talking about how big these tribes were and where they were and who they were. And, we'll probably touch on Lewis and Clark. And of course the Spaniards came through, the conquistadors. Yes. They came through. They told about how these tribes were in the thousands, and they went from tribe to tribe to tribe, and there was thousands and giant cities. And later on, 50 years later, there was no cities. There was no giant tribes. What happened? They all passed on, and they were trying. It takes years to rebuild a population. That's another thing. You can't rebuild a population overnight. It's going to take years and years and years and years and years.
Several generations.
Yes, exactly. And while those generations are trying to rebuild, guess who's coming? All the Europeans are piling over here into the colonies. And then they're saying, we need more room. Let's go west. There's nothing out there. Let's go west. There's thousands of buffalo. Let's go to California. There's gold in them dar hills.
And also, them white people had families with 6, 8, 10 kids.
Yes.
And the natives were dying and the white people were prospering.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah. Normally competition. Chloe's in the house. Normally competition. However, this was more or less a slaughter in many ways. Yes. They basically unknowing and unwittingly spread disease and killed off the natives. And then they came through and said, well, there's less of them and there's more of us. So, yeah. And then, of course, they put them on reservations. And that was the thing with the white man. And you know what? If we ever become conquered here again, whoever's coming, I don't know who it is, I'm not making any speculations, but when they come, what do you think they're going to do to us? It's always the same. They're going to come, they're going to conquer, and they're going to say there's more of us and less of you. That's how it works. And you're going on a reservation.
And one of the things that the native folks did is still hard for them to comprehend is that, the earth belongs to everybody and there are no boundaries. And so when the white man came with boundaries, and the native folks were like, before you got here 2 weeks ago, I could roam any damn where I wanted to and nobody bothered me. Now you're here now and you tell me I got to stay here. I could see where that would just tick some people off right away. Like, wait a minute, Creator gave us all this land. He didn't who are you to tell me I got to stay in Oklahoma? And where is Oklahoma to begin with? But anyway.
Yeah, I think Chloe's got a good point. The people that were here had conquered someone. And they didn't just come in and there was big empty land. How much you want to bet there was somebody here? And we kind of went over that. The stories of the giants. The giants were here, the red-headed giants. And the natives came along and said, there's the giants, there's less of them, and there's more of us. And they got rid of them. And now there's no more giants. Right?
That we know of.
Well, that we know of, yeah. But I mean, they're not walking around in the open anymore. I'm just saying is that there are plenty of stories. I mean, you read them all the time. Stonecoat, the Stonecoat, they're the giants, and they came along. And what happens to the Stonecoat? They, they're always getting killed off because they're bad. They're bad. And of course, well, then once the native the were here, they were the people in charge. And of course, then the Europeans came over and said, we have better weapons, we have better tools, we're smarter, we're this, we got religion to control us, we're going to control you, there ain't many of you and there's a lot of us. So I was reading about that, and it just was so funny because they were talking about conquering the country, and this was the Americans, and one of the presidents or somebody had said, yeah, well, there's millions of us, and there's only 75,000 Indians standing in the way of us, conquering this country. And I can't remember which president said that, but I thought, yeah, so he's already thinking in his head, there's only 75,000 Indians on the plains there, in between here and California, and there's millions of us. Now, what's the problem?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have to come out and say in exact words what he meant, but you can tell by that statement, you know what he was thinking.
And all Americans looked at it as conquering the West, conquering those savages. It was all about the conquering of, you know, and it's just like, you know, the earlier settlers were like, we come in peace, you know, kind of thing, a little bit. And
well, you know, in all the books I've read, the natives welcome the white man,
right.
You know, for the most part, until he put up a fence, he shot all their animals, and then he said, well, I need more land. And the natives were like, hey, we gave you a spot. We said that valley over there, nobody's using it. Go ahead. And then you put your cows there and you shot all the buffalo. And then you were hungry, so you shot all the deer. And then you wanted more land because you had to have more cows because there was no deer and no more buffalo. And now we need to move because you say you own that land and you're not moving either. Right. I mean, and of course, then when they didn't have anything to eat, that's when they started stealing. You know, they started stealing from the white man. And they would steal, and of course, the white man got mad, and he would go and, well, we gotta do away with it. We can't have people stealing and killing and da 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 da. It's against our rules, you know. Blah blah blah. We got to do away with them, you know.
And it's all, and from their standpoint, because they were the law in their own eyes, they had every right to kill those savages.
Yes, exactly, because it was, you know, using a religion again, you know, that's wrong. You can't be doing that.
Ordained by God.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Boggy, thank you for coming. I haven't seen you here before. Tribes are warring amongst them yourselves, but the skin color matters. Literally every other race has settled elsewhere. Only when the white people do, it is evil. Yeah, well, this is true. You know, the white people move in, and you know, because the Europeans
goes to hell.
Well, but that's the thing. They're known as conquerors, just like you know, different groups of people do different things. And that's what the Europeans were. They were white and they were conquerors. They wanted, like what was it, England? You know, the sun never sets on the Queen's land. Wasn't that the saying?
Something like that.
Because, yeah, because they conquered so much land all around. You know, little tiny England, so small, conquered so much land. The sun never sets. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying our live stream, and yeah,
thank you, Bobby.
Indians seem to conquer Canada really well. Muslims in your there's a lot to it. Chloe talking about the Pope. That is funny. That's a funny one. That made me laugh. So anyway,
the devil, but yes.
Yes, there's some weird stuff. You hear about the doors he's going to open, the portholes, you know. So anyway, we'll have to have a show on that one alone, man.
Ooh,
I don't want to get into that here, but it's going to happen. So let's see. Well, I'm done with my segment. Next week, we're going to go to individual tribes of the Plains Indians. I mean, there's so many. I want to talk. I got some books on the Navajo and the Pueblo Indians, and I got some books on the Sioux, and you know, I mean, the Lakota, the Dakotas. You know, I mean, it's just amazing. I just ordered some books on the Nez Perce yesterday, so I got a bunch of stuff coming. And then I think I sent you this book. This one's a really good read. It's a Time Life book. I think I sent you one just like that, didn't I, David?
I'm not sure.
No, it's probably similar to this because I think this was when I said. But I love this. This talks about mostly all the plains, and there's beautiful pictures. People, if you ever get a chance to pick this book up, this is great. It's got lots of pictures, tells all about it. And I will be doing some heavy duty reading in this book. Fascinating. Yes, got a book of. I am glad, you know, And if you got some good stuff going on, Kyle, just send me an email. I'd like to have you on if you know stuff and like to talk about yourself and stuff. It'd be great to have you on. We're always looking for a good guest. Let's see. Okay. Hi. There's Elderberry. Anyway, what do you got for a story tonight? We're all waiting for the story. Everybody loves the story. We did what? Didn't we do White Lily last time or something?
Oh, the plume.
The plume. I love the plume, and you got some good cards tonight, I'm sure. Ooh, the water lily.
I don't know yet. I was sitting here getting ready to shuffle, and they just said, wait a minute. And I was like, okay. But so our story for tonight out of the same book, which is Fanciful Stories and Tales from the Adirondack Indians. And this is the third story in this book. And the name of this story is called The Tribe Divided, which is interesting because we're talking about the different tribes. And there were times where tribes would divide for different reasons. There'd be, half of the people thought this way and half of the people wanted to go that way. And so, but anyway, here is this story. Fanciful Tales from Legends of the Adirondack Indians. The Tribe Divided.
Okay, it's all you.
I had to get a drink. Okay, ready to go. The Tribe Divided. Oh, my friend, the moon wanes, and the deer roams undisturbed in the forest. The nights are not yet cold, and the hunter will surely have luck with his bow and arrow. Soaring Eagle stretched his long limbs in the warm September sun and regarded the speaker with an expression in which affection was mingled with admiration. The two young men were lounging on a grassy knoll which sloped down to the blue water of the Saranac Lake. The soft September haze hid the more distant mountains, but only served to enhance the beauty of the scene, which was spread before the two swarthy young athletes. No sound broke the stillness of the autumn day, save a bird call in the forest around them, or the fluttering of a brilliant leaf which gently stirring breeze wafted to their feet. See, my brother, continued Crouching Wolf, everything is favorable, and before many days the cold rains will come and the hunter's luck desert him. Soaring Eagle raised himself to a sitting posture and laid his arm affectionately on his friend's shoulder. Well, he finally assented. Crouching Wolf says the word. When shall we start? Tonight, when the darkness settles on the land and the woods are still. The two braves were rivals in the tribe, but at the same time, fast friends from boyhood. These two could run a little faster and a little further than any other young men in the village. And at feast times, many ponies, canoes, and arrows were won and lost as persons wagered on one or the other would win in the games and tests of strength and skill. Through the rivalry, the closest comradeship had reigned. They shared their goods in common and knew not the feeling of anger or jealousy toward each other. So, when the shadows fell on the forest and the stars were mirrored in the lake, Crouching Wolf said farewell to his wife, and the two struck into the blackness of the forest. Everything was still. So softly did the Indians move that hardly a leaf rustled or a twig snapped. After a few hours' walk, they reached a huge balsam tree, around which the ground, by some freak of nature, was clear of underbrush. Here they threw themselves on the ground and slept till the shadows grew gray and the animal life began to astir. In 4 suns, Soaring Eagle will meet his brother here, and together we will return to the village. Crouching Wolf will be here ere the time, and the village will welcome our return with venison for all. With these words, the young men parted, each one going his separate way, and the forest was left in silence. On the evening of the 4th day, a mighty shout resounded through the forest, and a moment later, a hunter staggered into the little clearing, carrying a huge deer on his shoulders. Seeing the place unoccupied by human being, he dropped his burden to the ground and began to investigate the surroundings. No sign to show that human foot had stepped there since the morning he had separated from his friend. Making a hollow of his hands and raising them to his mouth, he uttered a peculiar cry. Only the echo replied. Satisfying himself that his friend was not in the vicinity, Crouching Wolf proceeded to light a fire and make himself comfortable for the night. Morning dawned and grew to midday, and still the Soaring Eagle visited not the spot. In the afternoon, Crouching Wolf scattered the ashes of his fire, ground out the sparks, and disappeared in the wood, returning late in the night alone, but with an anxious face. 4 more days the hunter waited and searched, and then, abandoned all hope of finding his friend, he started for the village. It was mid-afternoon when, without a shout of triumph, Crouching Wolf strode into the village, deposited the deer's skin at the door of his wigwam, and turned to face the rapidly assembling tribe. Raising his hand to command silence, he said, "Brothers, a great sorrow has come among us. Soaring Eagle has vanished. I do not know where he is." The silence of apprehension fell on the tribe as he finished his story. No one stirred but the wife of Crouching Wolf, who laid her hand on his arm and looked up into his face. Presently, the chief, stepping forward, said in angry tones, "Thou liest! Jealousy has entered into thy heart, and the evil spirit has whispered to thee to kill Soaring Eagle when his friends were not near, and hide his body. My son, the tribe harbors not a liar." The man in the doorway started and braced his shoulder against the wigwam, then with a smile of scorn replied, "Crouching Wolf does not lie. It is as he said. Who says it is not is himself a liar." His eyes were raised above the chief and gazed far beyond the limits of the village into space. Thus he did not see the movement of the chief toward him, nor the lifting of his knife. With a piercing shriek, the wife, whose eyes had been fixed on the chief, sprang forward and flung herself upon her husband's breast, clasping her arms about his neck and lifting her face to his. It was all so quick. The knife blade sank between her shoulders, and her head dropped back. With a yell of rage, Crouching Wolf, still clasping his wife's murdered form, sprang on the chief and clove his skull with an axe. The village was thrown into confusion, and that night the tribe divided. Crouching Wolf and his friends going to the lower lake, while the chief's family and followers remained on the upper Saranac and the shores of Tupper Lake. Years passed, and the young Crouching Wolf, now chief of his band, had grown to be an old man. There was much bloodshed whenever the two bands came in contact, and many, many braves were slain. One day a canoe was seen approaching the village. As it touched the shore, an old man stepped out, and Crouching Wolf again beheld his friend, Soaring Eagle. The story was soon told. On leaving Crouching Wolf the morning of the hunt, Soaring Eagle had missed his footing and fallen down the face of a steep cliff, breaking some of his bones and sinking into unconsciousness. Here, some Frenchmen, returning from a hunt, had found him and carried him into Canada with them, where he had married and lived till old age crept on him, and with it the desire to die among his people. Thus the divided tribe reunited, and great were the rejoicings on the shores of the beautiful lake of the clustered stars. The end. A house divided. They
There we
gathered
go.
on the lake of clustered stars.
Yep, definitely.
That's clustered stars. That's just,
Oh yeah, that's how it goes, you know. Let's see. Let's see. Victory Gardens. I like that. I think we should all be growing a garden. Yep.
yep.
Yeah. I know. The amount of money watching the stars a lot. There's been interacting again. Yeah. A lot going on with the stars. Why do you think the people back in the day, everything from the Native Americans to the pagans to the Christians to all of them, the Chinese, the Indians, they were all looking at the stars. Even the ancients, you know, they're all like, oh, Stonehenge, that's all orientated with the stars, you know, and the pyramids, they're all with the stars for a reason. So anyway.
And the native tribes were, you know, their creation stories. Let me bring up something I was going to bring up before I started the story. And, you know, European folks don't have any creation stories. Their creation story is the Bible. So of the many tribes of Israel and many this and that. So, but the Bible is their creation story.
Mm-hmm.
But with the different Native American tribes, many of them had their own creation stories. They weren't the same, except they came from the stars.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, how and the Egyptians, you know, seeing some of the hieroglyphs and something, you know, some of those things look like airplanes, and some of them look like helicopters, and some of them look like, you know, and I went to Jacksonville 15 years ago or so or more, and they had the exhibition of Ramses II there, and
Mm-hmm.
to see, there was this little gold airplane looking thing that they had found, and they have since modeled this thing and made a model of it, and the dang thing actually flew. So, you know, this idea that the ancestors, oh well, you know, God created man and blah blah blah, and the end and this and that, you know, and that's the Bible story. But across the rest of the world, there are creation stories. Just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring that out. And they're not the same.
Yep, we've read a bunch of the creation stories. I'm hoping you get to another creation story here one of these
Yeah.
days. You know, there's
Soon I think we've got one more story in the book that we're excuse me, that we're reading from now. And I'm scanning some other books. And in some of these other books of stories are, guess what? Some more creation stories.
Ah, yes.
So,
Love the creation story. Because each one, you know, from the back of a turtle coming out of remember the one where they came out of the ground and they crawled up this tree and roots or something, or they planted a tree and it grew up and they crawled up and they were on top. I thought, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yep. So.
And I was reading a story the other day about how one of the creation stories was about, you know, the one tribe, you know, they lived in the earth.
Yep.
And I think that's the one you were talking about. And it was the ant people.
Yeah, the ant people. We got to get into that. Let's see. Kyle says our oral history says we came from the earth, from out of the earth, I should say. Yes, that's exactly it. Out of the earth. I've heard a lot of the stories that said you came out of the earth, and I kind of believe that goes along with the hollow earth theory. You know, that there's civilizations that are under the ground, you know, living just as we live here. And why wouldn't there be? You know, there's life anywhere you can imagine. And who knows, maybe there's another sun inside our earth and we just are buffaloed because the scientist tells us that the volcano erupts and it's lava, you know, and there's the earth in the center there. You know, sometimes I think about that and it doesn't make any sense. If the earth has lava that's so flippin' hot, you know, and it's that much, wouldn't it just radiate out and make all the dirt we're on hot? You know, see, that's the part I don't understand. You know, well, then there's all the water coming out of the ground should be hot springs, not just once in a while here and there in the volcanic areas. Hot springs should be everywhere. The water underground should be hot, because as you go farther into the ground, it should be hotter and hotter and hotter until you burn up. Then why ain't the top of the earth hot too? You know, we shouldn't need to have a stove, because we just, you know, the radiation from the earth, all that lava underneath, miles and miles of hot lava should make the earth hot. Maybe there ain't as much lava as they're telling us there is. Good thoughts, right?
Yeah, and You know, they keep talking, and they've been doing this for as long as I can remember in science. You know, the inside of the earth is an iron core. How do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's got an iron core and it's spinning. And now they're recently, you know, the core of the earth is slowing. And but again, how do you know? Just saying, how do you know that the earth ain't hollow? How do you know? You know, because you can't drill so far, and nobody's been down all the way down. And if they have, they ain't come back. And you know, they murdered basically Robert Byrd for talking about, you know, Middle Earth, and you know, so oh well.
Yep.
Will that be one of the hidden
What?
things that are brought back out?
Probably.
You know, I mean, there's so many things are being exposed and whatever, but I'm curious as, you know, well, we know about space aliens and about this, and we're learning about that. Will we learn anything about Hollow Earth? Just
I gotta take a break.
Oh, he's got to take a break. Ooh, okie doke. So anyway, I'll take over for a few minutes till he gets back. Well, I'm gonna take over anyway, because I've just ended up pulling 5 cards. And so here are the cards for tonight. There's Butterfly upside down, then Squirrel right side up. Next one is Weasel, which we have not had in a long time. I mean, a long time. Then we have Swan, also upside down. And next, to finish up the cards for this evening, Bear, right side up. So it looks like an interesting spread. So let me get a drink of coffee and get the book out, and let's go through these. Now, Butterfly has to do with the cocoon and I can't think of the word, but I'll find it here in a second. The transformation of Butterfly, the cocoon stage. So there are 4 stages to Butterfly. The egg stage, which means that you have an idea. The larvae stage, which means you make a decision about that which you thought about. The cocoon stage is, are you developing that idea? And in the 4th stage is the birth stage, because that's where the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, right? So in this transformation, the upside down contrary part of Butterfly is, your lesson is a simple one. There is a need for change in your life that you are not recognizing. This could be a possible need for freedom, for a vacation, or for a new job. You may believe that change is too difficult, and you may rule it out to preserve the comfort of your old habits. It's hard to throw out that old pair of shoes, even though there's holes in the soles, because they just feel good and they're comfortable, right? But in ruling out any possibility of change, you're saying that the courage of Butterfly has been lost. The courage of Butterfly has been lost. Why does Butterfly represent courage? Because there is a totally different world outside the cocoon, where the known realities of the chrysalis are no longer applicable. So, like, I'm living inside my house, I can look out the windows, got a lot of glass and everything's in the house is one realm of reality. But as soon as I open that door and me and Duggar step outside, it's a different world. It's a different reality. So when you step outside the chrysalis, you're in a whole new different realm. This new world demands that you use your newfound wings and fly. So an upside down butterfly can mean that you're grounded. Okay. The next one up is squirrel, and it's right side up, number 26. We've had squirrel recently, and squirrel is all about gathering. Squirrel teaches you to plan ahead for the winter. Guess what? Winter's here, right? When the trees are bare and the nuts have long since disappeared. Squirrel medicine can come in many forms, as this critter is very diverse in nature. The gathering power of squirrel medicine is a great gift. It teaches you how to gather and to store your energy for future times of need. It teaches you to reserve something for future needs. I lost my place. It teaches you to reserve something for future use, whether it be a judgment, an opinion, a savings account, candles, extra food, or whatever. To put it in a nutshell, squirrel is the Boy Scout of the animal kingdom, always prepared. In today's world of changing times and fortune is the wise person who prepares for the future. Now, I'm reading out of a book that was made in the 1980s, okay? So this book is at least 30 years old. And so for them to say in this book, in today's world of changing times, it was 30 years ago they wrote this. If squirrel has scurried into your cards today, it may be that you're being told to honor your future by readying yourself for change. Whoops. What did upside down butterfly say? You're scared of change. And here's squirrel saying, get ready for change. Interesting. So next card up is the weasel. And number 33, interesting. And it's upside down. Oops, I went too far. And I can't remember what weasel is. I can remember a little bit about most of them, but weasel is about stealth. I had forgotten about that. Weasel has an incredible amount of energy and ingenuity, yet it is difficult power totem to have. It is not without significance that the ermine or weasel pelt is worn by royalty. Weasel ears hear what is really being said. The chief sent Weasel to the enemy camp to smoke them for power. Weasel never failed to give an accurate account of the enemy's numbers, strengths, and its weaknesses. It was Weasel who tearfully told the original people of the coming of the white boat people. Weasel fur changes color with the season. Silent Weasel has many lessons to teach you. Weasel could confound the Great Spirit, pick Great Spirit's pockets, and then leave Great Spirits contemplating the divine navel. So very stealthily, but in the contrary position, Weasel, if so, look out for intrigue, Someone may be using covert tactics to weasel into the hen house. So with this time of change and everything, be careful. Perhaps you should lock your doors and dress your teenager like a nun. Don't slink away just because you can. Honesty to self and others is of the utmost importance. Another message of reversed weasel is to acknowledge why you have been doubting your feelings. Weasel upright observes all actions. When you don't know how you feel or what is occurring around you, doubt becomes the barrier to your progress. So, upside down weasel is doubt. If you want to write the situation, start by shaking the dullness out of your head and observe the obvious. No one can fool you unless you let them. So, weasel being scared of his own shadow in a way. And the next card up is Swan. So the first two cards are about change. And then Weasel is like, are you scared of change? Are you scared of who you are and what your feelings are? And so, those three cards fit together very nicely. Swan upside down is number 39. And Swan is about grace. Yep. So little Swan wanted to go into the dream time and had a conversation with Dragonfly. And Dragonfly said, the only way you can go into the dream time, you must be willing to accept whatever the future holds as it is presented without trying to change Great Spirit's plan. And Swan said, I will be happy to abide by Great Spirit's plan. I won't fight the currents of the black hole. I will surrender to the flow of the spiral and trust what I am shown. Now, upside down, if you pull the Swan in reverse, it is warning you that you must acknowledge what you know. Weasel just said you were afraid of what you know. And you may be bumping into furniture, forgetting stuff in mid-sentence. If so, that is a sign that you are not grounded. Jump in place and hold the top of your head as you do so. This will get you back in touch with reality. In any case, Swan reversed says that you need to pay some attention to your body. It can seem as if you're flying without a pilot's license. The solution to contrary Swan is to notice your surroundings and touch the earth with your feet, hands, or both. Focus on one reality or the other, but stay out of trying to understand multiple things at once. If you're being called to visit the dream time, stop what you're doing and be still. If you are just preoccupied, daydreaming, or spacey, you need to focus on doing some type of physical activity, using the reasoning side of your brain to make a list of what you need to do next. And this will stop the clutter in your mind that may be causing you your confusion. And last but not least is bear. So these cards up to now, there's something about changes, and you shouldn't be afraid of the changes. And in the contrary of the the swan upside down, you need to pay attention to your health and to your body, and to notice your surroundings. Bear's number 5 to the other end of the book. So I see where, many of these things are applicable, to just about all of us. And guess what? So the 5th card tonight is Bear. And guess what? It's introspection. So you've got these other 4 cards that are leading you up to something. And now Bear is about introspection. Bear, invite me into the cave where silence surrounds the answers that you gave. The strength of Bear medicine is the power of introspection. It lies in the west on the great medicine wheel of life. Bear seeks honey, or the sweetness of truth. To become like Bear and enter the safety of the womb cave, we must attune ourselves to the energies of the eternal mother. And what did Swan just say? You got to ground yourself. And what is squirrel? You gather energy for what might be to come. The great void is the place where all solutions and answers live in harmony with the questions that fill our realities and our brains. If we choose to believe that there are many questions to life, we must also believe that the answers to these questions reside within us. So there's fear of change, and many tribes have called this space of inner knowing the dream lodge. The female receptive energy that for centuries has allowed visionaries and mystics to prophecy is contained in this very special Bear energy. If one were to imagine an overview of the head of the top of it would be a circle. The south would be the forehead, the north the back of the skull, the west would be the right brain, and the east the left brain. Bear is in the west, the intuitive side, the right brain. To hibernate, Bear travels to the cave, which is the center of the 4 lobes where the pineal gland resides. In the cave, Bear seeks answers while he or she is dreaming or hibernating. Bear is then reborn in the spring, like the opening of spring flowers. In choosing Bear, the power of knowing has invited you to enter the silence and become acquainted with the dream lodge, so that your goals may become concrete realities. This is the strength of Bear. So, Swan, all of these are leading up to the strength of Bear. And so, if you want to make things, Weasel, is talking about hiding from your own fears and not accepting them. Squirrels gather the energy for future. And Bear's like, yeah, go into the dream time and take command of it. So interesting cards. I can see how they're all related. And sometimes the cards don't make sense, but here lately they've been making sense. So I hope that the cards tonight have made sense for you. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Bear. Be like Bear and enter the dream time. And interestingly, also, Well, butterfly is sort of attached to the dream time too. But there's swan that goes into the dream time, and then there's bear. So interesting, but they all suggest the dream time. So did we lose Robert still? Whoops, there he is.
Okay, I'm back. That's what happens when you're on call.
Yep.
Hey,
so you took care of it, huh?
Huh? Yeah. Things, at least I didn't have to get up and go like sometimes I do. Gotta go. Gotta end the show. Oh, no. I want to shout out to everybody who came tonight. Susie Q, Chloe Boggy 2.0, and Kyle Romantico. I hope I said that right. I'm really bad. I have a big twisted tongue. And we had all kinds of people in here tonight. Lucky Stone. So anyway, he ran into some geese and some swans and stuff like that. Dragon Sage, thank you for being here tonight. And all the people in Elderberry. Yeah, lots of people in here tonight. Annie L, I guess, she just subscribed. Thank you for joining the Milky Way Soul Tribe. I love it. I love having new subscribers. Let's see, who else is in here? Chris, somebody. A lot of people. Chris, yes. Big shout out to Chris Smith. Thank you for coming and joining us. And Joanne Dancing Gypsy for being with us too. Really great to have all of you here. Carol Herring, thank you. Truth Seeker, yes. I met her. She has a bookstore in Mandan. So she's a North Dakota native too. And so, yeah, thank you all for being here tonight. Remember, we have great shows all the time. On Tuesday night, we get together, listen to some history and some stories, and then you can join me on Saturday night where we're going to talk about some crazy stuff. We were on this series of death, and now we're going to be moving on to, of all things, the Christmas season. And I haven't really picked out a pointed topic yet, but it's going to have to do with the 3 days of darkness and the new life and the beginning of winter. Something with pagans and how Christianity took all that crap over. So
and
anyway.
We're coming up on the longest night and the shortest day. So
that's right. Set your clock.
Appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we got to have something fun like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And who knows, maybe I'll do a show Wednesday or Thursday night too. I'm off this week. So maybe I'm going to be home. Maybe I'll do an extra show, swing something in there. Maybe I'll give you a call, David. We'll collaborate a little bit. Hey, what do you think? I still want to hear your afterlife experience or your near death. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I'm sure everybody else wants to hear that too. But it's going to be a good one. Yeah. Thank you, Chloe. Have a good night, everyone. Much love. You doing a show tonight? I'm sure they all want to know.
Yes, and about let me get one titled, and of course I gotta let me and the dog out and get some more coffee. So yeah, it'll be a few minutes.
Okay. Yep. Good. And everybody loves your show in the late night. I like to listen to it too. But I tend to fall asleep because I got to get up and go to work.
Understood.
Yeah. And being on call, I got to get every moment of sleep I possibly can because you never know when that late night call comes and I got to run. And then it's a long day.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway.
I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight, too. Lots of new faces and names and energies, and we thank you and we hope you come back.
Absolutely. Don't forget to go over to Nina's channel too. Link is in the description. Go over to Streamlabs where you can get my smiling face on a t-shirt, for the happy holidays. And you can go somewhere and have the ugliest sweater shirt with my smiling face, or a mug with my smiling face and the Anacorona symbol. Who can beat that? Anyway, I hope everybody's getting geared up for the Christmas season, giving all you got, maxing out those credit cards, and all the good stuff that comes with shoveling snow and putting up that Christmas tree that you just have to throw out the next day. I'm going to make a list of all the craziest things. That's what we do. We chop down trees, we put them in our house, we decorate them with all this stuff to just throw them out the day after Christmas and say, adios. I don't know. I'm just being funny. I am just,
The last tree I bought was in a pot. And when Christmas was over, I took it outside and planted it. And after all these years, I've got Christmas tree type trees all around my property. The trees and the good Lord planted. So if you gotta have a tree, get something that's alive in a pot so you can plant it outside when you're done, But anyway, and also consider how that tree feels. You're going to put all those lights and glittery stuff on me. What the hell? So, I guess maybe then you just need to have a plastic tree. Never mind.
Plastic tree. Or you got a great dog like this, you don't need a tree, because I can put jingle bells on her and she'll keep me happy.
Yep.
This is Ariel, everybody. Say hello. She loves attention. Oh, she's the best dog ever. No shame on Duggar. Duggar is good too, but they're all sitting here.
Your dog is more black than white, and my dog's more white than black. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, Boggy, she's a loyal pup. She goes with me everywhere, to town, to work, in the store, everything. The whole 9 yards. When I go to Tractor Supply, I just let her loose. She goes up by the counter. They love her. She greets everybody that comes in, and she sits by the counter until I get done shopping. Hey, what can you she sits in the back seat of the truck when I go to work, and she's there all day long, and she just loves it. She loves it. I don't think she'd change it for the world. But Kyle says, hey, we are beginning our winter solstice fasting here tomorrow, so I will see and catch up whenever we see you guys. Oh, fasting. Fasting or festing. I'm not sure.
Festing.
Festing. Oh, winter festing. I get it. Versus fasting. I was going to say, man, that's a long time to fast if you have to fast over the whole solstice starting now. Lose a few pounds. But festing, I'll go along with that. Let's fest. Woohoo! I love to cook and bake. Cookies are going to be, I'm making cookies this weekend. Anyway, what's your favorite cookie?
Oatmeal.
Well, I'll make some
oatmeal. Just a good, sure enough, good oatmeal cookie. Just
yeah. Susie Q says Festivus. Yes, we're talking Festivus. Anyway, I love that Seinfeld, but yeah, just no raisins in your oatmeal.
Oh, you can have them, but I'm just saying,
Okay, maybe I'll try that. Okay, good deal. Anyway, thank you all for coming. We're gonna make a show. This 155 is gonna be just under 2 hours, so good deal. Go join David on his. You should be there in about 10-15 minutes. Link is in the description below if you want to go join him on his channel and hear all of his wisdom. You've got some really good ones out there. That's for sure. Anyway, with that, remember everybody, go out, do something nice for somebody else. It is a giving season, and it'll make you a better person. Remember, when you take your glass and it is full and you dump it out or dump some of it out, the universe will fill that glass back up with even more. And with that, people, be the frequency you want to receive. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.
And there